Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another ERG Resource Session. My name is Lola Adeyemo, and I am the founder of EQI Mindset. EQI Mindset is from Equity and Inclusion Mindset, and it's all about supporting organizations to build inclusive communities within their workplaces. So, employee resource groups, business resource groups, affinity groups. How do you set up the right groups? How do you manage them? How do you support them? To make the kind of impacts that you want to make as an organization and that each of the members want to make as individuals. So, all about ERGs. And I started the ERG resource sessions a few years ago because as I worked together with all these groups, I started to notice standout nonprofit organizations, standout nonprofit collaborations that were happening and opportunities to feature entrepreneurs as well that had tools and platforms that could partner with these internal groups. So the goal of this session is to interview, have conversations with founders that have unique platforms that could support ERGs, nonprofits that could be great collaboration partners for ERGs, and I think that's one of the huge ones, especially in the last year. We know that the nonprofit space is filled with people that are doing impactful work. And a lot of times the ERGs bring that passion and they bring the resources. And so the goal is that this year, especially the nonprofit sector has really been affected by a lot of things. And we hope to be able to bridge that gap to have shed more light on nonprofits that are doing important work and can be a resource for your organization. And so this one is very timely, and I'm excited to kind of introduce you to this organization. As you know, we are recording this at the end of August, so we are just about to roll into Hispanic Heritage Month, which is one of the big cultural celebration seasons that kind of wraps off the year. And I would let Gabriel Medina introduce himself. Did I say it right? Gabriel? Gabriel?
That's right. That sounds beautiful.
San Diego is growing on me, but hi, Gabriel. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. This is like the best welcome back to the office after a 2 week vacation that I could possibly have.
A 2 week vacation that actually happened. You know why it happened? Because you didn't have your phone and emails. So,
That's exactly right.
so that's the way vacations are meant to be.
Not by choice, though. Not by choice.
Well, sometimes we are forced to do the things we are supposed to do. That is good for us.
Yeah. Nature
Well,
stepped
welcome
in.
back. Welcome
Thank you.
back, and thank you for being here. So, Gabriel, if you want to take a minute to introduce yourself. Actually, before we talk about La Raza CRC, to meet you a little bit, your role at La Raza is kind of going to be the concluding part of that. But can you give us a snippet of your career path till date and how you got here?
Thank you. Yeah, my career path has really been, for me, it feels more like a life destiny. So really, I think my career started like when I was even before I was born. Um, Both my parents were Chicano activists in the movimiento in the 70s. So they were active, in protests and community building and organizing. And both, grew to became executive directors on their own here in the Mission District of San Francisco, which is like the Latino cultural hub of San Francisco. Famous for folks like Santana and a lot. So it came before even I was born, and so they founded nonprofits, ran them for many years. They both had public service careers, either as elected officials or as commissioners. So I really grew into this, but so I learned this at an early age, just going to them to events, supporting their nonprofits, seeing them work, really hard for community all their lives, dedicate their lives for it. Even though they both were very educated. My mom got her MBA from Golden Gate University here in San Francisco. My dad got his JD from Hastings University in San Francisco. I'm the least educated of all of my family. I don't have those fancy degrees that they got, but I had a different fusion of both of their spirits. My mom was very entrepreneurial, And she was actually a banker. She was a trailblazer. With she was like one of the first Latina branch managers in San Francisco for a major bank. She worked for probably 3 or 4 banks here in San Francisco. And my dad, yeah, same thing. He was the first Latino elected official to the Board of Supervisors in history, elected on his own. So that was a huge achievement for our community. So for me, I started really just my career and just in service to really helping dedicate my parents, as a lot of Latinos do. And so when my dad was in politics, I became a campaign manager, and I ran his third campaign. I was too young for his first 2 campaigns, but he ran a third time after losing the first 2 times, and we won. And that's when we kind of made history. I was like 19 at the time, and I kind of just stuck with that path. I managed over a dozen campaigns so far. I've won all but maybe 2 of them. But I learned over time that that was not the career for me. It's if you've ever worked on a political campaign, it's a big rush of excitement, and you're working nonstop 7 days a week, and that gets a little tiring as you get older. Um, I then used that energy that I had from campaigns and actually worked for a tech startup. So I worked for a tech startup in the mid market of San Francisco called Baracan, and did that for almost 4 years, and as the number 2 in the company, and they, and our job was to sell online classified ad systems to mid market newspapers. So basically, building Craigslist where Craigslist was too, where there wasn't enough density for Craigslist because the town was too small. So we had over 250 publications. We had like maybe a dozen when I started, but they ended up moving everyone to China. So that left me as like the only U.S. employee. So I left. So I left that and joined the Obama campaign, and worked in North Carolina for a couple months, and stayed out there and enjoyed it. And that really left me at a crossroads where, well, look, the tech career was very satisfying. Financially, it's very entrepreneurial. You get to basically everything you put into it, you get back financially. But I was always drawn back to public service. So after I took about a 6 months of soul searching in Central America, I came back and moved to Sacramento, where my parents were working as state employees, and essentially from there, I got looped into another political campaign. So I was a campaign manager for a state assembly campaign, Roger Dickinson, and we won. I think he had run before also and lost, but we won this time.
Something about you bring win.
It's something. I think what happens for me is I tend to work for like I tend to choose like more experienced candidates, folks that I would want to. I work for folks I'd want to vote for, and he had it. So it was a close race, though. It was a very close race. So we won. So I joined his state assembly office in Sacramento, and then did that, and then I was called back to San Francisco by another political campaign, Mayor Ed Lee in San Francisco. And after coming back to San Francisco life from Sacramento, I decided to move back to San Francisco after my absence, and joined, and then basically joined MEDA, a Mission Economic Development Agency, which is a large community development organization here in the Mission. I think maybe the second largest mission nonprofit. And essentially that was 2013, and so ever since then, I've been working in the mission nonprofits serving Latino community for over 12 years since. So, and that brought me to La Raza, where I am today.
Yeah, life of service, huh? Life of service from before you were born, for real. I like that. I didn't even know about your parents and the background in campaign management before I asked. I'm glad I asked though, and we didn't just jump right in because
Yeah.
I think it's important to get to know who we're talking to and sort of understand a little bit of their why and the passion behind the work they're doing. So thank you for sharing that. So, can you tell us about La Raza CRC and what the organization's mission is and who you serve?
Well, yes, of course. La Raza Community Resource Center. I joined as the executive director here almost 5 years ago. I was on the board of directors for 5 years prior to that, and this organization is over 55 years old. We celebrated our 55th anniversary just a couple months ago, with kind of opening of a new space that we expanded to.
Congratulations.
And yeah, it's wonderful, and really like the last, for the first 50 years of our agency, of our organization here, we were a really, really small, but historic nonprofit. So we were really like 8 people. And it wasn't until, responding to every crisis that had come, that our agency started to grow. And that's what I'm really proud of this agency about, is that whenever there's a crisis facing our community, our agency has been flexible to meet the need. So that at first that started with the caravans that are crossing the border, and so that prompted us. We were urged to start a legal immigration center, and so we started that program, and then and joined SF Island and SFLDC, which is the Immigration Legal Education Network and Immigration Legal Defense Collaboratives, part of the Rapid Response Network for San Francisco. And so that, and then also when COVID hit, then we expanded our food pantry, which used to be 150 people a week, 150 households a week, I should say, to grow to as much as 900. We gave one of those days away. Now we just do 600 a week now, but we're still expanding as we just expanded that space I talked about. And also with COVID, we started giving out rental subsidies, which we've given out over $10 million so far in rental subsidies. And so now we're almost, now we're actually 20 people. And we have a wide footprint that we serve, and so it's basic needs, legal immigration, and our family resource center, which is really helping new immigrant families not only learn how to navigate San Francisco, but also stay connected with new parenting skills with their fellow community.
Right. What is the community you serve primarily?
Yeah, I mean, so our mission is to really serve as a bridge between San Francisco, which is my hometown, born and raised. That's why I'm wearing a Giants jersey today, not just because I'm born and raised in San Francisco, but also because like the second half of the day, the entire team were going to the Giants game. They've been giving us, allowing us to come to the game like every year as a staff. Um, so yeah, new immigrant families. So our family resource center is the heart of our agency, because we've always been about educating families about resources, their rights, and education. So that's what we've done here, and so that's our main mission. But we serve everybody. We serve. You serve our food pantry. It's very diverse. We have, African American, Chinese, white. We have Samoan. We have a lot of different folks. Same with our rental assistants. We really get a lot of citywide resources, but our family resource center is, kind of the heart and smallest program of our agency that really connects with the most services.
Yeah. And so when you talk about who you serve, it's not just, you have a lot of Hispanic families, but it's
Mhm.
really new immigrant families.
Yeah, I mean, so because the Family Resource Center is the heart of our agency, that's really where we do the most wraparound services, the most interconnected services. So if you're in our, let's see, our Martes Familiares class, which is every Tuesday for parenting workshops, we try to wrap in a lot of those families will need legal immigration services. As new immigrants, they might need food pantry, they might need rental assistance, they might need a variety of things that we, certainly casework. So a lot of those things will wrap around. Folks that might come in through other avenues, like that might come in through our food pantry or our rental assistance, we try to connect to those services as well. But not everyone will necessarily be a family household,
Right.
or necessarily need their services in Spanish, because the service they need is also available in English or another language they speak. But that's kind of like how our agency, works. We try to wrap around as many services as possible.
Yeah. And we talk about the year-long support, but as far as the key challenges, I feel like you touched on it a little bit, that you've grown to recognize the key challenges that the communities you serve face, and that's how you've built your programs, because everybody's entry point is different. So when based on your experience with the organization, what are some of the key challenges that these families or individuals are facing when they come to you?
I mean, the real difficulty of the work we do is that there's just a lot more demand than we have capacity for. And even if we expand the capacity, there's not necessarily the resources to expand to that capacity. Like for legal immigration, for instance, I think collectively, us and nearly 20 other organizations collectively, we meet about maybe about 20% of the need for legal immigration services in San Francisco. And it's just the capacity that's needed. Same for hunger. So food insecurity is big. Like I said, we serve 600 families currently, but our wait list is almost 600. It's about 550 families that are trying to get that are on our wait lists that are trying to get food services. Same for rental assistance. I mean, we can't, unfortunately, there's not resources to approve every application or to fund every application. Same for our Service Connection Emergency Fund. There's not enough, and we just really are experiencing a lot of demand for our services. And I know one of the hard things that I'm always compassionate about is, our staff have to say no a lot, and that's really hard.
Yeah. And you talked about entry points for the people you serve.
Mhm.
So how do your communities, how do the people that need your help, how do they find you?
That's the really fortunate thing for our agency having such a long history, is that we have such a long history of service to our community. So we get so much word of mouth from, just say the name La Raza, and folks immediately come to San Francisco to seek our services here at Central Pueblo at 16th Valencia. So we're not only a long-standing, one of the older agencies of the Latino serving mission nonprofits, but we're right at 16th Valencia. So we're a huge hub of traffic. 16th and Mission and it was a block away, just a BART transit hub. But it's also like a huge cluster of single resident occupancy hotels. So a lot of low income spaces, some industrial spaces, spaces that, really haven't necessarily been gentrified out, as about a third of the Latino population has been gentrified out of the Mission. The Mission is kind of the cultural hub for the Latino community in San Francisco and really the Bay Area. But also it's what's called an immigrant gateway. So as an immigrant gateway, new immigrants will come here and they know that they can access not only other services, but other people that will also refer them by word of mouth. So that's usually how they find us. But because we have as many programs as we have staff, we probably have a program for every staff member, like about 18, and and most of them come with like collaboratives. So we're part of, not, I mentioned the SFILDC and SF Island. We're also part of the Pathways to Citizenship Initiative as well. We're part of the Immigrant Parent Voting Collaborative. We're part of the Chicana Latina Family Resource System. We're part of just so many. We're part of Latino Parent Equity Coalition. Part of so many like collectives that all of those collectives also refer to us. So we try to be very collaborative in serving the demand that even our partners necessarily can't meet as well.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to impact work, that's really powerful, having that collaborative relationship with different organizations, because you can't meet every need. There's going to be certain things that others are maybe better equipped to meet. So you might also be able to send, the people you serve to some of these organizations. So that's really important. Thank you. Um, so let's talk about employee resource group perspectives for a minute. And, that's my primary focus. We have people within companies. I've been a corporate employee leading employee resource groups. And I work with employee resource groups leaders every day that are in these organizations and looking for a way to champion their passion, right? To channel their passion to champion organizations. And so you talked about your location and then you touched on your programs. So do you have example of successful collaborations or partnerships that you've had with ERGs around you, either in person or virtually, that you could share?
Yeah, absolutely. We have. One of the ones that I really enjoyed was a company called Adyen, and they were a company that came out and did. They had a Latino ERG. It was funny because we were working with this like coordinator from like Florida, from like Miami, and yeah, they had us. They not only had us speak at a panel at like one of their headquarters in San Francisco, but also came and had their staff do Christmas, kind of a Christmas, gift wrapping, and they bought the gifts for the children of our family resource centers. So that was really nice that we did a couple years in a row. I've spoken at Oracle before, um, but yeah, a lot of these, happen out of luck and circumstance, and also continuing relationships, and also folks that are familiar with the work just from our many collaboratives that we're in. We're not necessarily a big marketing giant, we're just a small organization, but folks find us through how many different collaboratives we're in, how long we've been doing the work, and just folks. I've had a really good story. I think this one foundation is just we helped like someone in their family like a long time ago because of our long standing service, and those children and grandchildren grow up to be part of these corporations, and so that's usually how they find us. But there's no directory for any of this. We're just kind of look out and try to develop those ongoing relationships.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a common challenge, common thread with nonprofits too. It's like we don't have a huge marketing budget. Marketing is a whole new department on its own, and I hope this will also be a channel to get people clear on how they can partner with you. So speaking of how to partner, we talked about the fact that we're starting Hispanic Heritage Month, but we know that you work all year long. Sometimes there's a tendency to focus on these cultural heritage seasons. But for an organization like yours, for an organization that is focused on doing the work every single day, you can't wait for September, October. Um, how can people listening who are working within organizations, individuals, um, or ERGs or HR leaders, how can they partner with you all year long? What are the ways and formats of your programs that you have in place?
Yeah, no, and I have a really interesting anecdote with Hispanic Heritage Month, because we do see like a spike in activity from corporate partners, and we're really grateful and thankful for that because it does impact our work a lot. Um, so one story was when we were speaking at a national corporation, they were like broadcasting us to their international like employees, all right, like all of like they said something like 3,000 employees around the country, and it was a great honor. And I brought my family resource center director as well as my legal director to come and speak with me on this panel to talk about Hispanic heritage. And the first question that came up was, and I'm thinking like this is great. Like we never get these opportunities except usually during Hispanic Heritage Month to really make these relationships with the staff and the corp, the businesses. So they asked this question: what does Hispanic heritage mean to you? And just like you said, the work is all year. And so my family resource center director says, he's retired here after 18 years now. Uh, he says, well, it really doesn't mean anything to me. It's just another month. And I'm like horrified a little bit. I'm like, oh, we're here because of this. And then they go to my legal director. What does Hispanic Heritage say? He says the same thing. He says the same thing. It really doesn't mean anything, to me either. And I'm like, and so, I'm like a little bit aghast. Uh, but these are professionals. My legal director had been with us for like about 8 years at this point. And so, these are my veterans. And so, finally they turned the question to me, and I'm like, well, actually, I think it means a tremendous amount because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for Hispanic Heritage Month. We wouldn't be here at all. And so it's your impact today is not only getting our message out to all of your staff and everyone that you work with. That's like a world that we never see because we're focused on services.
Every
Folks are
day.
coming to us all the time
Yeah.
that need our services, and not as many folks that want to come and help us. So throughout the year, so Hispanic Heritage is also very important. But yeah, I think throughout the year, you can do a business can do a lot to help a nonprofit throughout the year. It can like do some regular volunteering, like our food pantry allows for that, which is converting to a food market. That allows for that. Obviously, the different holidays on top of Hispanic Heritage Month, whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving or even or back to school, or there's so many things that they can really do that happen all year. Um, I'd say obviously giving is a big part of it, but just even just a regular series, just like talking about the issues that we're trying to address because we're a service provider, but the services that we need to provide are here for a reason. The need is there for a reason. So there's certain gaps or inequities that we're trying to help because families are not, getting be able to meet their needs here, and so and they're fully capable of, but it's just not systemically equitable for them to do so. So we're trying to help address that, and so we need to change hearts and minds. It really does take these introductions, not just Hispanic Heritage Month, but throughout the year, to change hearts and minds, so we can have some systemic improvements.
Yeah, I love that, and that's huge. That's a key part of this because I think a lot of times when I try to talk to people about the difference between equality and equity and systems is really a key part of it, right? You're not just giving these families handouts and sending
Mhm.
them away. You are looking for ways so that they don't come back. You are looking for ways so that this situation doesn't occur again for family, like trying to understand why they are in the position they are in
Yeah.
and looking for ways behind the scenes. So I think that back end work is a lot of what get missed or goes unnoticed. And maybe it's a huge part of why you've been able to build sustainability over the last couple of decades, right? Because it's not just giving handouts, it's educating. And it's why people end up coming back and becoming donors themselves and partners that have benefited from the program. But I love the story you're sharing about it doesn't mean anything to us, and you're like, wait, you can't say that. You know, you gotta
They were,
support.
yeah, afterwards I talked to them and they're like, well, we're just really impressed that you don't tell your staff what to say. And it's like, well, did I fail at messaging here? And it's like, well, look, I mean, I wanted my staff to be as brutally truthful. They're in the trenches every day and having to say no every day. So, their truth is really more important than my
Yeah,
comfort.
yeah. But you said it correctly. What Hispanic Heritage Month does, and what we leverage these opportunities to do, is to spotlight because people pay attention during these months, right? People pay
Yeah.
attention, and so the goal is that we help these organizations build the relationships and create the awareness that they need so that the relationships, the partnerships then goes on all year long. And so hopefully, for those listening, now you know about La Raza and there are huge opportunities to make an impact for your employees, for the communities you live in and work. So if you have any question, any follow-up question, please reach out to Gabriel. I know I'm feeling my Spanish now because my son is actually Gabriel. And so I'm like, no, don't switch to that. It's Gabriel. and, reach out to him on LinkedIn, or send me a message if you're on YouTube. My email is there. Send me a message and I'll gladly connect you. Or just go to their website and find all the information you need and also contact them. But thank you so much for the work you do. And thank you for sharing a little bit about the journey that has brought this work into where it is so far. And there are some pictures you had behind you that you were gonna. Did you have something to share
Oh,
about the
yeah,
pictures?
well, yeah, I do. I mean, this is actually a lot of my work before being executive director here was, I'm not an immigrant myself. My mom's an immigrant from Mexico. But so these campaigns were, this is C and Prop C. This was to a campaign we won, which I was co-chair of, to allow immigrants to serve on city commissions in San Francisco. Because previously you had to be a citizen. And this one over here is Prop N, and that was to give immigrants the right to vote for school board elections. So a third of our student population is immigrant. So this allowed for those parents to have some rights about the direction of education, because there's such a disparity for for the schools and more lower income in neighborhoods where immigrant gateways tend to be. So, and this is the Latino Democratic Club, which I was chair of many years ago, and this over here was like a resolution when my dad was supervisor. He gave to this nonprofit. Like about 27 years ago, he gave this one, and then behind me is we became a polling place. So not only do we allow for the rights of immigrants to vote for school board elections for their better education, because it improves schools, but we also host a polling place here on our premises. So I'm very proud of all these things.
Yeah, all of the steps, all of the areas that you are touching to make an impact to change lives. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for coming on today and sharing a little bit about your community. And looking forward to continued engagement and feedback from listeners. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month in advance, because it means something to the people listening and the people doing the work.
Thank you.
All right, Gabriel. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.